Hi, folks. Thanks for joining in. I'm Prabhas Srivadana from WSO2. Hope you are doing great and most importantly, staying safe. This is our 31st Silicon Valley IAM meetup, and today we have Wen Liang to talk about Speedle Plus. I, in fact, wanted when you talk about Speedle more than a year back, when he was at Oracle and while leading the Speedle project. But somehow that didn't happen, mostly because I guess during that time he left Oracle. Anyway, here we have him today to talk about Speedle Plus. And Speedle Plus is a project from Speedle. Over to you, and
Sure. Thanks, Prabhas. And yes, hello everyone. My name is Cai Wenliang. You may call me William if it's hard for you to pronounce a Chinese name. I worked for Oracle in multiple engineering roles from 2008 to 2019. During that period, my team focused on fine-grained access control, and we were the owner of Oracle Entitlement Service and Oracle Platform Security Service. We created the Speedle open source project in 2018 and published it in GitHub in 2019 after Oracle senior management approved the open source proposal. Speedle project is now adopted by multiple projects, both Oracle internal projects and some other companies, the companies other than Oracle, as far as I know. Okay, so let's start. Okay. Here is the agenda. First of all, I will have a very brief overview of a Speedle open source project, and I will show you what is Speedle and when to use Speedle. Actually, is the user scenario, and the SPDL policy definition language. We call it Speedle policy definition language, and the deployment of Speedle, and quick go through the advanced feature list. Okay. What is Speedle? Speedle is a general purpose authorization engine. Actually, is offers basically three major parts. The Speedle policy definition language. It is a very user-friendly language, just like similar to plain English. Policy management module, which acts as PAP, means policy administration point, and authorization runtime module, which acts as a PDP, policy decision point. If we are familiar to the authorization architectures like XACMO also, yeah. With the 3 points, the user can build the policy model in RBAC, ABAC, or even a mix of RBAC and ABAC. Define policies in Speedle definition language, and retrieve the policy evaluation result, and even other advanced features like policy diagnosis, policy discovery, which help you to build the policy, which help you to debug into your policies. Yeah. The Speedle is under UPL 1.0, so it's an open source project. You can use it in your own project without charge. It's free to use, and it's free to change. You can change the code as well to make it more suitable for your own specific project. Okay. So during the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me and ask your questions. Okay. Now, what is Speedle Plus? And you see, we in the title of the this meetup, we said we use the terminology Speedle Plus instead of Speedle. Now let me quickly go through what is Speedle Plus. Here is the history. Since last year, my team all left Oracle, so no one maintains the project in Oracle anymore. Oracle realized the situation and archived the project on GitHub 2 months ago. But the community is still here. Although we all get new jobs to do, we are still working on Speedle project as a volunteer in our spare time. So we need a new repository to maintain the latest work. So we forked the code and moved it to the new location. And we rename it to Speedle Plus. That's why we use Speedle Plus instead of Speedle, because Speedle open source project was kept in GitHub. We cannot change it anymore. Okay. The Speedle Plus open source project is still under UPL 1.0. So we'll keep adding new features and also has bug fixing on top of Speedle project. So far, based on the original Speedle project, we are adding new features. For example, we have added MongoDB support, which is very important for the production deployment. Right. So far, Speedle project only support file-based policy store and etcd policy store. It's perfect for demo for deployment for development phase, but for production deployment environment, database support is necessary. That's why we introduce MongoDB support. Actually, this feature was asked by a Speedle user. The user built the DevOps system on top of Speedle. Okay, so he asked us to add MongoDB support, so we just added it. The second feature is policy management console. It's a very lightweight policy management tool for Speedle. The prototype has been done, so we are still actively working on this feature. Okay, so in this session, I probably will still call it Speedle, but remember that the Speedle project is already archived. If you need the latest Speedle code, please go to the Speedle Plus repository to get the latest code. Okay. And you see, as you see, we use a different logo, right? From the original one. The new logo is a bird. Okay, just for information. When should we use Speedle? As a general purpose authorization engine, Speedle fit for most of the authorization scenarios. For example, if you have any applications which requires authorization or access control functionality, and you don't want to write your own logic, right? And you don't want to deal with XACML, some very complex implementation like XACML also. So you can use Speedle, right? Any applications, okay? In this slide, I will show you a simple application with Go language, right? But you can use Speedle in other more complicated scenarios. For example, if you have a very complex system which consists of hundreds of modules, sub-modules, or sub-services, and you want an authorization solution to manage all the modules or services, you can use Speedle, right? So the Speedle have very flexible policy model to satisfy your daily changing business requirement. It is scalable to support a fast-growing business and is efficient enough because for every usually any operation, user operation will lead to one or more authorization calls. If the Speedle is very if your authorization evaluation process is slow, it will slow down all your the entire system. Okay, so Speedle is efficient enough, quick, fast enough. It will not slow down your user operation, and you can achieve centralized policy management with Speedle, and of course it's provide some very straightforward, very interface that allow you to integrate Speedle to your own system. Okay, of course it is open source and it's free of charge. Okay, I will show you another scenario. This is actually a real world use cases. Okay, and Mr. Chen is actually my friend. He is a security manager of a multinational company. His team monitor all the internal systems. And I believe there are dozens of internal systems in his company. All the systems support the financial system, the CRM, ERP, SCM, all different HR systems. The different systems use different authorization mechanisms. Some of them may use JAS, some of them may use XACML, some of them may build their own authorization mechanism. And it's hard for Mr. Chen to find a good solution to manage all the systems, manage the access to all the systems efficiently. They have to learn all different policy language, policy model, and they needed to learn all different policy language. And if they want to make some change to the policy model, they have to use different policy language and to use different policy management tool, management interface to change the policy of each system one by one. It's really hard for them to do that. So they are looking for a system which allowed them to do the centralized policy management. They have flexible policy model which fits for all the systems. Of course, it should be easy to integrate with different systems and scalable to support all the systems because it will have very heavy workload because there are dozens of systems and to support daily business operations. So it should be scalable enough. You should be fast enough, efficient enough. Okay. And at the end, they found Speedle is the right choice in these scenarios. Okay, so if you are in the situation of one of the three scenarios, you may think about to use Speedle. At least try, give it a try. Okay. Let's move to next slide. The Speedle policy definition language. Here is the grammar diagram of Speedle policy definition language. There are two kinds of policies in Speedle: role mapping policy and authorization policy. Role mapping policy basically defines the role relationship among role user group, like which user have which role, right? Like the role hierarchy, like the separation of SOD, so-called separation of duties or segregation of duties. The authorization policy basically define who can do what and when. So that's very straightforward, right? For example, here is a policy definition. The authorization policy, right? The first part is efficient. You can use grant or deny. That means you can do that or you cannot do that, right? And use at the subject part, user may use the user or group or role. Actually, they can use the. I believe the diagram is does not contain the other. We also support other subject type like entity, right? So you can still use Speedle to manage not only the user, the access of the user or group. You can also use Speedle to manage the access of device, applications, or other entities. For example, you can use a SPDL ID in the subject field as well, right? Such that you can use Speedle to manage the microservice, access of a microservice in your system, right? And we have the action, resource, and at the end, the condition. The condition is very a powerful part. You can define any conditions, right? Use the keyword like and or. You can even extend the condition with the custom function you define yourself, and we can discuss about this a little bit later. Okay. Then let me show you some examples. Right. Here's some example. It's really straightforward. I think you can understand it without any explanation. Right? First of all, the first one is that means user William can perform get to the species. Hello?
Yeah, when we can hear you. Yeah. I think we lost
Okay,
you for a few minutes. Now we are good.
I see. Seems my okay.
Maybe you need to share it back, share the screen.
This screen or which
Yeah,
one?
we can see now. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, my connection was broken. So should we start from this slide or the
I
previous one?
think you were halfway through this slide. Yeah.
Okay. So let me 1 second, please. Okay, here. So let me just start from the beginning. So the policy definition language is very straightforward, so you can understand it even without my explanation, right? For example, the first one means Radium can perform get to the specific URL, and the second one is similar to the first one. I just add a condition in based on the first one, right? The condition means if today is Monday, right? So that means only if today is Monday, William can perform this, the get, perform such action to this resource, right? And the third one, actually, we introduced in the third one, we introduced the admin role, right? So if you want to build your system in RBAC model, you can grant the specific permission to a role, means the role admin, and then you grant the admin role to user William. It can achieve the same result as the second one, right? And right. So when you grant the role to the specific user, you can still use condition, right? That is an interesting feature. That means the role may be, the role assignment is not necessarily a static assignment. It can based on the condition, right? And the last one is deny role, right? So I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. So can you see the screen?
Yeah, when we can see it, yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I just misclicked the screen. Okay, so let's move to the deployment. This is a very simple deployment diagram. I just want to show you how it works. Maybe in the real world, the deployment could be more complex. At the first, the yellow one is a centralized policy store. It could be a file, could be a etcd, a MongoDB, or other database, etc. All the policy information, all the configuration information are stored in the policy store. Right? And you may deploy one or more PMS instance. That means policy management service instance. This one, the green one, is the policy management is PMS instance, is used to manage policies, create policy, delete policy, query policy, and so on. And one may start one or more ADS instance for authorization decisions. ADS means authorization decision service. They are all independent from each other. So if you need to handle more policy authorization request, simply start more ADS instance is linear scalable, right? And for the policy change, if you see the arrows, so if any policy change happened in the policy store, the policy change will be pushed to each ADS, such that the ADS could get the latest policy status, and and then they can evaluate against the latest policies. Okay, and the light blue one is command line tool. The command line tool usually talks to PMS and ADS instance. User can use it to manage policies, perform other advanced operations like policy discovery and policy diagnosis, and so on. The purple one is customer function. Customer function is extension of policy evaluation runtime. So user can create their own customer function, build their own logic to the customer functions. The logic could be some special handling, like how to calculate the role relationships. I just give you an example, or how to retrieve the information from other resources. Right? In this case, the customer function can is a kind of PIP component in this case, right? And you can build your own code, your own logic to retrieve the different information from all the external database, from the network, from the file system, from anywhere, right? And the light green one is PEP. This should be a custom code. We provide a very simple, very easy to understand the interface. So user can call the interface gRPC or RESTful interface. Then the PEP can talk to ADS instance to get the latest authorization result. Okay. Here's the interface we offered for now. For programming interface, we offer the RESTful and gRPC API for policy management, for authorization decision, right? So user can integrate the system with Speedle project by calling the RESTful service, by calling the gRPC APIs, right? And the command line tool, we provide a command line tool called SPDL, SP control. You can use the tool to create policy to do some advanced operation as well. And there are also a few extensions like a customer function, like pluggable policy store that allow you to extend the Speedle with the standard interfaces. Okay. Here is a list of advanced features. Of course, more features will come after. I don't want to go through them one by one. I just show you a few, a couple of them for your reference. For example, the policy diagnosis. The policy diagnosis is a tool that enables user to dig into the policy evaluation process and find out what policy are matched and evaluated. The evaluation result of each policies, each policy is very useful for policy administrator to manage policies, because sometimes if we define a lot of policies, it's hard for us to understand the policies, the conflicts, find out the conflicts of the policies, right? Then for a specific result, you expect the authorization result is a grant, but actually Speedle return a result of deny. What happened? You need not to go through the tens of thousands of policies to find out the conflicts manually. Instead of that, you can use policy diagnosis tool to manage the policy and to find out what happened inside the policy evaluation engine, Speedle policy evaluation engine. Okay. Policy discovery is another useful feature that helps security manager to create policies. Right? But the security manager probably don't know what resources, what action is it should be used to construct the model, right? In the policy model, to construct the policy model. And then can turn on policy discovery option and find out and do the manual operation on the system, and then they can get a list of the policies. The policy will be generated automatically. And then they review the policies, do some minor changes, and import the policy to Speedle. Everything is done. It's a very, very useful feature for security administrators. Multi-IDD stands for multiple identity domain support, because nowadays the user could from different identity domain, means the user could be authenticated by Google, the user could be authenticated by Amazon, or the user could be authenticated by Microsoft or so, right? They may use use the same name, but from authenticated by different IDP. In that case, they should be treated differently. So in Speedle, we have the ability to distinguish the users from different identity domain. Okay. I don't think we get enough time to go through the whole feature list in detail. So please refer to speedle.io website for the details. Okay. For now, the Speedle open source project is all maintained by volunteers. No one is fully working on Speedle project, so we need your help to promote Speedle, to help with Speedle. So, like, if you want to use Speedle in your own project, it will be the biggest help for us. I want to see the people to use Speedle in the projects, and want to Speedle works and just works well, and that will be our biggest contribution to the project. And if you want, please help to introduce Speedle project to your colleagues, families, right? And you can, of course, you can help to contribute the design code to the family. That we will be more than happy to have you in the community. Okay. Here is the resources of the a couple of links for Speedle. So I just quickly go through the Speedle, the history, when to use that Speedle policy definition language, Speedle deployment model. I will pass this session to Bill. He will share a couple of demo, so such that you understand how Speedle works. Hey, Bill, it's all yours.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing. Okay.
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay, now I'm going to share you how to install and how to use Speedle Pass. Can you see my desktop?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, first let me demonstrate how to install Speedle into your host. It is very simple. You should firstly install Go language environment, and on my laptop, the Go 1.14 is preferred, because Go 1.14 is the Go model is official released in Go 1.14. And to install Speedle, we can just use Go get. Wait a minute.
Mhm.
Okay, the problem is the network issue because of the great firewall. One second. Let me use proxy. Okay.
So what is a proxy?
The proxy is set up by me and to across the great firewall.
Okay, you should not say that. Okay, just go ahead.
Okay, it's done. So let's check. We can see Speedo ADS and the Speedo PMS and the SPCTL are generated. So a Speedo PMS is the management model, Speedo policy management service. And the Speedo ADS is stand for Speedo Access Design Service, and the SPCTL means as Speedo Control. Let us set up PMS and ADS. Okay, it's done. And the setup Speedo ADS.
It's ADS.
ADS, yeah. Okay, it's done. So by default, PMS listen to port 6733, and the ADS is listen to port 6734. Wait a minute. Okay. So we have a command line tool as PCTL. Let's check the PMS endpoint. Okay, the PMS endpoint is localhost 6733 by default. Let me check the service. Okay, there is no services in the policy store. So first of all, let's create a new service. For example, test. Okay, the service is created. And then create a policy for William. And he can borrow books from a library. Let me create your policy. The service is test. In the ground, use William and his reader. Okay, user William has a role reader, and then grant books, borrow books. No, sorry, grant role reader to, and this role can read books. Create a policy. The service is test. grant row reader borrow books. Okay, your policies and the policies are created. Let's check the policy store with SPDL. We can see there is a service test and one row policy and one policy. Okay, we can make decision using cur posts. And the content is the context, request context. Subject is the contains the principles of a user, and it contains principles. And the principal type is user. Its name is William. Okay, and then the service name is test. The action is read. The resource is books. Oh, not read, borrow. Sorry, action is borrow. The resource is books. Okay, the ADS endpoint is localhost 36734 is allow. The API name is allow. So this command line is going to check whether user Vanian has permission to borrow books. Okay. The result is true, allowed, because we defined the two policies. And let's change the user to Cynthia. Check whether she has permission to borrow books. Yeah, the result is false because we didn't define any policies for user Cynthia. Okay, next let us define a deny policy for William. The decision policy, we can define these deny policies for user or for rows, and at this time I'm going to define a deny policy for user William. Because we are using deny override, so at this time William doesn't have permission to borrow books. So let's check. The user is William, and the action is borrow resource. Now the user William doesn't have permission to borrow books because of the deny policy. Next, I'm going to demonstrate the condition. Because today is Friday, okay? Let me create a new policy for Cynthia. She can borrow books now. user sincere, borrow books. Okay, now she can borrow books now. And let's check this policy with curl. Let's check the user sincere, whether she has permission to borrow books. Okay, now she can borrow books. The result is true. Now let me define a deny policy with condition. Today is Friday, right? Deny user sincere, borrow books if request weekday equals to Friday. Yeah, today is Friday in China, and maybe yeah, today is Thursday in US. Okay. Now the policy was created. Let's check whether Sincere has permission to borrow books on Fridays. The user is Sincere, and oops, did I use borrow Friday?
Request the typo.
So
RE request the weekday.
Oh yeah, request. Okay, yeah. It's a typo. Request. Okay. Check. Friday. Okay. It was denied.
What's the relationship between the service and the policy? So you created a service first and then created a policy associating that with the service you created first, right?
Yeah. You can imagine service is an application or a microservice or project or a project.
Okay.
It's actually a container of policies, raw policies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like a grouping, like where you can group a set of policies, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And when you evaluate policies, are you passing? You also passing the service name, is it?
Yeah. The service name is passed during PMS, during SPCTL, right?
Yeah. To evaluate a policy, you send a request to an endpoint, right? Do you have that request? Is allowed. So yeah. So here you are passing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there you are passing the service name to. Okay.
Yeah.
So this endpoint doesn't change, right? Endpoint is it's same for all the policies.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So now for some situation, we defined so many policies.
So there's another question on
Okay.
YouTube, from Alan. Can you have policies based on service-specific conditions? For example, William can only check out books with titles beginning with the letter A.
Sorry, William can only check out books.
Yeah, so I'll post that to the Zoom chat too, so you can see the question.
Can we have policy based on service-specific condition for you? Really can
A policy based on service.
Sure, we can do that.
William can only check out the book with titles beginning with letter A. Yeah, we can do this, and but we need to pass attribute, pass the attribute of the books. For example, the name, the book name is blah blah blah, and we can define the Cynthia. We have some functions for string, right?
Yeah, simply start open the speedle.io. Can you open speedle.io
Okay.
page? Yeah. Actually, we can, in that case, we can pass the book name as an attribute, and then use the attribute in the condition. We should have the start with building function.
Yeah.
We don't. We just implement that ourselves. Okay. So I believe we click the docs.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
and
docs.
then it's really slow. Okay.
Okay. Let me use the proxy.
Yes, proxy. Okay.
Okay.
So what happened? Okay.
Condition.
No.
Policy define.
No. SPDL secure. The third
okay,
line.
SPDL. Yeah.
Okay. Just check condition. Scroll down.
Condition. Yeah. String.
Yeah. Okay. Not string.
Yeah, we support the regular express matching.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, we can use the regular expression.
Yeah, and we support some built-in functions, built-in attributes, user group, entity resource, year mouse. Yeah.
In this case, I think the regular expression is the right choice.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if this answers your questions. Yeah, actually, can you just create simply type the policies on the screen so we understand?
Yeah, for example, create a policy and Vanian can borrow books. Grant user Vanian borrow books. Borrow books if book name A, right? And this is the policy.
Yeah. I typed exactly the same thing on chat. Yeah. Okay.
So either you can type that the particular policy statement, or else can you write it in the JSON format and upload to?
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yes, we can do both. Yeah.
Okay.
But we need to. Sorry. We need to delete the denying policy.
No, I think perhaps the question is, can we create a policy by both JSON format and SPDL format, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps is that your question? Yeah.
That's
the answer
right.
is yes. Yeah. We support both formats.
Yes. SPCTL create service, and we support for two. For two type of parameters, JSON file.
Yeah.
Right.
And where do you store the policies? Do you use a file system, or is it just in memory? Or
so export, right?
Yeah. So when you create a policy, where do you store the policy? Like, so when you restart the server, it should find it, right? Or
okay. Let me demonstrate you
by default is a file system. For now, we just demo in this demo we stored in a file. Right? The file is a file policy store, and you can configure in your production environment. You can configure Speedle to use a database, for example, MongoDB. or you can configure to use etcd, or we provided a standard pluggable policy store interface such that you can also implement your own policy storage support, so you can store in anywhere.
Sure.
For example, my circle, and
Okay, so there's another question from Rohit Kansal. How is book name reflected as the attribute of the resource in this case? I just send it over the Zoom chat as well. I think he's referring to a sample you just ran.
You need to pass in the book name because we don't know. You need to pass in the book name to Speedle authorization policies. Authorization
in context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
From PEP layer, right? In this case, you guys write the user of Speedle write the PEP layer, and in PEP layer, they need to send the book name to Speedle. Okay.
Yeah, we support attribute in request context. So you need to pass book name in the context.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I think we can continue with the demo you planned.
Okay. Oh, and the ADS has a special endpoint API diagnostic API. Diagnostic means, for example, sometimes we define hundreds of policies, and we need to check which policies are infected for user, affected by user. So we need to the API name is diagnose, and the user is sincere. She wants to borrow a book. Okay, the result is allowed equals to false, and here is request context. Borrow books, no attribute. Attribute is null, and this is attributes. We here is the attributes which are used during evaluation. And this is the policies which were infected. We have a deny policy, and we have Friday status. Yeah. So ignore ID, and this grant policy is ignored. So this is the diagnostic report. We can use this report to debug the policies, policy definition.
Yeah, so basically we see two policies are matched. One is one policy is the first one BL created with a wrong attribute name, right? I just see the policies, and the second policy is the right policy. So basically, we in this with the response, we probably should format the output so that we can look at it carefully, clearly. We say two policies are matched, and for each of the policies, the evaluation result.
Yeah, there's a question, I think, related to that. Alan asked, what do you do about conflicting policies? Say that one policy grants permission for Monday and Tuesday, but another one grants permission only for Monday.
Bill, do you want to answer that?
Yeah. Okay.
Bill. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so actually, we just use deny override, right? For example, if we have conflicting policy, one policy means in the evaluation of one policy return a grant, and the evaluation of another policy evaluate as a deny, then the combined authorization result will be denied. As soon as we get a deny result, we will ignore all other policies. It's simply a deny. I'm not sure if this answers your questions. It's deny override.
Yeah, I think we are good. Yeah.
Okay. And the last, okay, can we continue?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay. The last demo is to demonstrate the client. As you see, the ADS and the PMS are the APIs are RESTful based, so we can call the RESTful service by different languages. And I write a simple client in Java. And I just implement is allowed. The program is very simple. Is allowed just send a request to the is allowed endpoint. Right.
Sorry, before we proceed, I think Alan says his question is not answered exactly the way he wants. Do you want to clarify a little more the previous question on conflicting policies?
Sorry.
The
Okay.
previous question, yeah.
So the question is, one policy grant permission for Monday and Tuesday, another grant. That's okay actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, if today is Monday, or then we get the evaluation result of the first policy, then both of the policy will be matched, right? And in that case, we will go through process the policy one by one. If today is Monday, and then because the first one will grant the permission for Monday and Tuesday, so then the first one will be proceeded as a grant, and the second is also for Monday. Then we get another grant. So two grants make the final result of grant. Okay. If today is Tuesday, then the authorization result of the first policy is grant, and but the second one will not be matched because it will be matched, but since it says nothing about Tuesday, we just ignore it. So the combined result is still grant. If today is Wednesday, right? So both the first and the second policy will not be the condition will not be satisfied, right? Then the result is denied. Is that clear?
Yeah, so in SACML, we have like different policy combining algorithms like deny overrides, then first applicable, yes, permit override.
More than 10.
Do we had a similar kind of algorithms here too? And can you define those algorithms when you define a service?
No, actually, I know we implemented the XML 10 years ago for OPSS, and I think that is we think that is too complicated, so we did not do that. We just choose the deny override combining algorithm for.
So where do you study? Okay, so you only have deny override?
Yes, we only have for now. If we need more, we can consider as a new feature to support that. But for now, only one.
Okay. And how does the like policy evaluation happens? Like, do you also see like in SACML, like there's a like target element which defines like a filtering criteria, right? So it will only pick the policies which are applicable for the request.
Yes.
So do you have a similar kind of filtering mechanism, or do you guys go through all the policies till you find whether it's whether there's no deny?
Of course, we do have a very similar matching policy matching algorithm. Otherwise, the performance will be very slow, very bad, right? We do have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Bill, you may go ahead.
Okay. So this is the Java client. I remind me. So let me test it. The service name is test, and the user is sincere. And check if she can borrow books. Okay, run the test program. Okay, the result is false because of we find a deny policy. Okay, that's all of the demos.
Okay. So Prabhas, I see a couple of more questions at the beginning of the chat panel. So I want to answer two questions.
Yeah,
yeah, for the first one, how do you compare Speedle and OPA? Okay, that is a very good question. Yeah. Let me see this. When we create Speedle open source, actually we did not. When we do that, we are trying to invent cloud service, authorization cloud service to support Oracle internal systems. In that case, we did not try to. The original plan is not to create an open source project to as a competitor of OPA, right? This is not a original plan, but at the end we found it is good for the community that we just open source the basic functionality of the cloud service, such that the people in the community, in the industry can take advantage of the technology that which we involved for 20 years. Okay, so we released Speedle. Speedle and OPA both Speedle and OPA are very good open source project as a general purpose authorization engine. Of course we did competition analysis internally, but I don't want to share the result publicly. You can do that, do the comparison yourself. I would suggest in a few parts. First of all, the user friendly, right? How user friendly is the product is, right? You may compare Rego with Speedle policy definition language, right? Imagine that if we have 1 million policies defined to manage in your systems, what will happen? Actually, in Speedle, we do support, we tested with millions of policies when we do the performance check. And actually in real world use cases, we see at least one customer use 4 million policies in their systems. That is very challenging for a general purpose authorization engine to do that, to support a large scale policies, right? And even with large scale policy, how do you manage the policy? Is right? Okay, this is one point. Secondly, the performance. As I just said, as an authorization engine, authorization is a very interesting part, important part of each one business, because for every business operation will cost one or more authorization costs. That means any authorization system will get a lot of will be heavy loaded, right? So you need to be able to handle a lot of requests, and you need to make a quick decision based on the policy you defined very quickly, such that you don't slow down your system. So you just try to compare the Speedle with OPA in terms of performance, right? In terms of if you put 1 million policy in your policy store, can you get the result back in milliseconds, such that you don't slow down in other the real world use operations, right? And the scalability. Do you have the is your architecture is scalable for the large scale deployment? For example, for cloud service. Speedle, I can show you some result. For Speedle, one ADS may handle at least 15,000 calls, concurrent authorization calls per second. And if you want more, you just start more ADS instance. That's the scalability of Speedle. You may compare that all by yourself. And of course, the advanced features, you can do that, because Speedle is not something we design and implemented by imagination. We build Speedle from the experience, based on the experience we in the past 15 to 12 years, we working on the flagrant access control field. So the advanced feature actually comes from the real world customer request. You can imagine some really big name customers. So all the new features are from real world customer, the big name customers. The advanced feature adjust the pain point, adjust the requirements. Okay, so to answer this question, you just compare that yourself. I don't want to release over competitor analysis publicly. Okay, both of them are good open source projects. Okay, and the second question is, what are available integration with Speedle, Istio, Kubernetes, Kafka? Okay, actually we do have something. Let me show you. We did that 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago. Let me show you. Yeah, here it is. Let me share my screen with you. Yeah, we do have something uploaded in YouTube. So we have Speedle a couple of workshops with Kubernetes integration, with Docker integration, Istio integration. So I just posted the link to the chat, so you probably can find look into the workshops video and find out what to do. It is pretty simple. Okay. Okay, Prabhas, any other questions?
Yeah, so there's one question. Can I use Speedle in an OAuth authorization service? I guess the answer is yes, right? Because you can talk to your endpoint from the authorization server, and then evaluate policies. For example, so at WSO2, we have open source identity server, which is acting as an OAuth server. So we have an integration with OPA. So basically what we do is whenever request comes to issue tokens or like to do scope validations, from our side, we talk to the OPA endpoint and then see whether the user is authorized for that particular action or not. So I think we can do a similar integration with OPA with the Speedle Plus, because you have an endpoint, REST endpoint. So we need to talk to that REST endpoint, and based on the decision, we can decide what you can do at the OAuth server side.
Yes, exactly. And it's open source, so of course you can use that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's all we have. Thank you very much for your time, Wen and Bill. And it was a very great intro to Speedle Plus, and also thank you very much for very informative demo. So this is hosted on YouTube, so we'll share the link with all of you. And thank you again, and thanks everyone for joining in. And we are planning our next Silicon Valley IAM meetup, the 32nd IAM meetup in 2 weeks' time, and we'll let you know. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Probas, yeah, for the organizing the event.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank